Kia ora guys, and welcome back to the Black Jersey. My name's Max. I've got a bit of a cold over here, but welcome to the channel. Today, for my final video before the Rugby World Cup, I'm going to be selecting my World Cup fantasy team for the World Rugby Fantasy website. So I'm going to share my screen with you off my Zoom and I guess show you the code over here. As you can see, it's KIHCPZWB. You can obviously just copy the code or copy link if you want to share it around to people as well. And on the table, before I started recording this video, I have got, I think, about 19 or so people in the league. I'd be keen to get about 100 or so playing for the first round. So for today's video, I'm going to be selecting my fantasy team. The thing is, you get a budget of 100 points. Not quite sure what this is supposed to mean, blah, blah. Basically, every player has a value. So Damian Peno and Makazole Mapimpi, they have a value of 10 points, for example. So if you select 10 Damian Penos, you've got no more room there, sorry, for the last 5 players in the team. And so though Peno is the world's best player, in my humble opinion, you just got to, I guess, think about building a team rather than who can have the most flashy World 15. I'm going to be selecting my fantasy team based on a bit of combination building and, of course, putting, I guess, a bit of emphasis on the top 5 forwards. The props, the hookers, the number 8, 9, 10, 15, they're your most important players. So I'm going to be selecting those guys first, starting off with props. And so as we can see, there are a lot of very highly rated props. So I'm going to go for Tyg Furlong as my tight head prop. And I'm going to go for Ethan de Groot as my loose head prop. I'm picking these guys because I think they are the world's best props. And, well, that's what you need. They're a pretty similar height as well, so they can scrum together. So that makes it pretty much the best deal possible. As for the hooker, you better start off with that. Who am I going to select at hooker? It's a toss-up for me between Dan Sheehan, Bongi Mbonambi, Malcolm Marx, and Julian Marchand. But Marx is the highest rated. I want to start using these points straight away. So I'm going to go for Marx. And so I've spent 22 points on my front row. See how picking the best possible front row, the points just go crazy, 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 crazy. So it's very tough. I'll now select my number 8. And who on earth am I going to select? Probably Artie Savia, even though it's putting him over here as a flanker, but I'll correct that later on. That's just how the system goes. So, things happen. Maybe it gives me a bit of a option to have more height in the lineout, though. As for halfback, well, there are a lot of world-class players in there, but we do have to admit Antoine Dupont is a guy that I would look foolish for not selecting at this stage. So I am going to be selecting Antoine Dupont at halfback. As for the fly halves, a lot of very, very highly rated players over here as well. But then there's the part of me who's like, oh, I don't want to go too over budget. That's going to be hard. And so you see Mwanga, Jalabert. I see that, people are rating Mwanga higher. 6.8% of people have selected him. But when you factor in combination building, I think it's probably a wise decision to go for Machu Jalabert. So I'm going to put him at 10 in my team, of course. Now for the fullback. Fullback. I'm really getting conscious of the budget now. I'm getting very conscious. But a good one, you've got a lot of kicking options already. So I'll probably go for Onge Kapuozo, who I was having in my trial run before I recorded this. So I'm going to select Onge Kapuozo as my fullback for my fantasy team. Now we start at the rest. We've got 42 points to spend on the rest of the team. I'm pretty over budget over there. So who am I going to go for? This is going to be a hard choice. Itzebet's at 9, Whitelock's at 8.5. So someone similar to them that's pretty good. I'll probably go for RG Snyman. Paul Willems is injured. And I'll probably go for Jean Klein. So that way I get some proper tall timber from South Africa that's going to do the goods for me. But then there's also the factor of you don't want to go too over budget. So you've got to get some proper full-on beef in that pack, but without going over the budget. Who am I going to have as a number 8? I guess Ardie Savia is going to be there as a 6 by the default. No idea what's going on over there. So yeah, I'll swap Savia over. Get a proper open side first. And I'll get a proper blind side as well. Bit tough over here, 35.5 left. Still 7 jerseys to pick. A sensible option for me would probably be Charles Olivon or Courtney Laws. So I think I'm going to go for Laws, who's a pretty similar player to Olivon, just to save a bit of that budget, just with a little amount of points left there. Weird that he's going at number 8. Okay. Very weird. But you do have to make these selections and be very conscious about it. So I've got Savia, Laws, and then I need a proper number 8. So I think Rob Valentini would be a pretty good pick over here. Rob Valentini, I think. Because ultimately, with the base of the scrum, it's okay. You can sort that out. You can have Laws, you can have Savia, you can have Dupont. They're all world-class players. And so long as the 9-10 axis is firing, so long as the props are a similar height, I think we're okay. It's trying to get the best out of both worlds, the best of the combination building and the best of the experience. 15.5 points to go, though. Oh, this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough. I'll have to start going for some tier 2 nations. Just to let you know as well, there is a country limit, so I can't pick any more South African players. So I think with getting a Pacific Island midfield, that might just solve the problem for me. Danny Tawala into Manu could be a good go, but I think a Tongan midfield combination of Peter Aki and George Moala could be pretty good to go. I could have gone for Fikatoa, but I think that Aki is probably a bit of a better defensive organizer than him. So I'm going to put George Moala in there. Now I've got just 6.5 points to spend on my wingers. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. Very tough. I'll probably go for Vandenberg of Namibia, who is reliable enough. And with just 3.5 to spend, I'll use the whole thing. And I think I'll go for Rodrigo Silva, who is another tier 2 player that can get the job done. As they say, a flanker or a winger are probably the most ideal players to lose in a scenario like this with a card. Now I'll just see if I can swap Laws and Savia around, because that does not make any sense. Does not make any sense, man. It's a funny old thing. So yeah, that's going to be my fantasy team if I can get this correct over here. Where is Ardie Savia? Okay, if it says so, Ardie Savia is on the blind side, and Courtney Laws is a number 8. If you say so. You also get some boosters as well, so I need to confirm my team. Then I need to select who I've got the boosters. As you can see, I just did a bit of trial run to see how this thing works before I started recording this for you guys. So I'll now view my team and select the boosters. So you can get triple captain, earn triple points on your selected captain. You can get a super kicker, who will earn double points for their successful kicking statistics there, and the defensive king, earn double points of a player of your defensive stats. France versus the All Blacks is going to be very tough, so I think Ardie Savia is the man I'm going to double the points for when it comes to the defense. So this here is my fantasy team for the World Cup. I've got Ethan de Groot, Malcolm Marx, and Tyg Furlong in my front row, RG Snyman and John Klein in my tight 5 with the locks, Ardie Savia, Courtney Laws, Rob Valentini in the loose forwards, Antoine Dupont and Mathieu Jalabert of France in the 9-10 axis, Vandenberg and Silva as my wingers, Aki and Moala as my midfielders, and Kapuozo as my fullback. I think the cough is maybe just a punishment for not really having the flashiest of wingers, but I think that's okay. As for the captain, I think I will go for Antoine Dupont, since he's the actual captain of the French. And that will be it for today's video, guys. That will be it for today. So I'll stop sharing the screen. I'll remind you to subscribe to me, join the Fantasy League, and I will catch you for the Rugby World Cup which starts in 2 days. How exciting is that? I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers for watching from Max.